Thank you so much, Madame Valerie, for joining us here on TV10.
Thank you very much for having us.
We are also with Christelle Dicot. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Merci beaucoup.
Madame Valerie, she is founder of Invictae. Invictae is one of powerful initiatives I've ever had in my life. So you are going to be telling us a bit about Invictae. Madame Valerie, how did you come up with Invictae?
Thank you for this beautiful question. Thanks once more for having us. We are delighted to be in Kigali, Rwanda, with the Queens. And I tell you what, before I even share some words, as I landed in Rwanda, they assigned me a personal assistant. Her name is Queen, and they recommended a young lady for my, to be with me as well for my makeup. And her name is Queen as well. So definitely, Rwanda is the land of queens. And we are delighted to have chosen this country to share this experience of queendom with the rest of Africa.
So you are saying about queendom. What is queendom? We all know kingdom, and now you are saying queendom. What is queendom? Queendom.
Queendom. Queendom is an experience we created to present Invictae in Rwanda. And Queendom is, shall I say, curated by Invictae, of course. And Invictae is a platform promoting female captains of industries across the continent, across our beautiful continent, Africa, to showcase all these beautiful queens on our continent doing exceptional work within different sectors, and yet they are not known. So my name is Valerie, and I'm from Cameroon. I'm passionate about Africa as a continent, our culture, our history, and above all, what we can achieve if we come together.
The best way to, showcase those captains, those queens, the best way to, share the story about women, it is through media. We are so lucky and blessed to have Christelle Dicot. She's a founder and managing director of Digan magazine. Christelle, bienvenue sur Télédis.
Merci beaucoup.
I just want to ask you a question about what Madame Valerie just said about, empowering young girls, about showcasing what they are doing. What do you think it is the role of the media in, doing all of that kind of work, showcasing the importance and the power of young girls and women across the continent?
Alors, merci beaucoup. Je vais m'exprimer en français, parce que je viens d'un pays francophone.
Ah oui.
Et je suis fière de ma langue aussi.
Merci.
Je comprends ce que vous dites et je suis très heureuse d'être sur TV10 aujourd'hui. Grâce à Valérie d'ailleurs, parce que j'ai été invitée par Invictae pour The Queendom à Kigali. Alors je suis directrice de publication d'un magazine féminin. Alors moi, le rôle de ce magazine-là est justement de promouvoir la femme africaine. Et je pense que c'est le rôle de beaucoup de médias aujourd'hui de pouvoir user de ce pouvoir de communication pour parler de la femme, pour montrer que la femme a des choses à dire, pour montrer les valeurs de la femme africaine, de la culture africaine. Et le média, et c'est vraiment la force de communication la plus puissante. Donc si chaque média pouvait octroyer une partie de sa communication à la femme, aux événements engagés par des femmes, aux actions menées par les femmes, je pense que ce serait le rôle le plus important d'un média aujourd'hui pour la femme, pour l'Afrique.
Merci beaucoup, Christelle. When I get time, I get back to you. Of course, I have to. You have a wonderful story to share. But let's talk about the creation of Invictae. You've just explained what is Invictae, but what inspired the creation of this Invictae initiative, and what are its main objectives or goals?
Thanks for the question, Abdullah. And before I even share what the objectives of Invictae are, allow me to perhaps share how it all started.
Thank you.
After going through some very personal challenges or difficulties, I felt the need to do more to to be more impactful to my community, my continent, my country. And I've been advocating for women progression ever since I came back from England onto the continent. And I felt that, we needed to address some of the key issues that were taboos, to actually encourage women, to share about what they do, to be on the spotlight, to be the role model for the others, for the other girls and women. So Invictae came about as a platform which will bring together an ecosystem of like-minded people. Why did we feel it was important? Because even I, who already advocate for women progression and empowerment, every time I wanted to find a woman to speak on a topic, specific topic, I had difficulties in finding one. And I said, maybe we need to start by identifying our champions across the continent. Once we've done that, we'll give them the mic, ensure that we collaborate with, media, TV, radio, magazines, so that they give the mic to those women to share their stories, because by sharing stories, we own our narrative, we communicate the stories that we want the world to know us about, and we encourage future generations. So unless the younger generation of girls and women see what other African champions are achieving, they cannot be motivated. So that's a few of the reasons why we did this.
It's so hard to dream something you have never seen. When you saw people achieving better things, you know that you can do that.
Exactly. And moreover, Invictae really came across because I travel a lot across the continent, and I realized that Africans don't know their continent. We know our country, sometimes our region, but we don't know the continent enough. So we would like to take this platform across Africa so people can actually know each other, decluster Africa, and work together. It's unless I know you, now that people have discovered Rwanda, many of the women who came with us for the Queendom experience have already committed to be back here. Some of them have already committed to actually put their holdings here in the few months, upcoming months.
But you said about traveling across Africa. You saw girls and women there. You see Africa is a beautiful continent. They have beautiful people, but there's some challenges those people face. I mean, young girls and women are facing. How seeing the challenge of those young women and girls, how does that help you, is coming up with the idea of Invictae?
Wonderful question. It's very simple. Put it this way. Unless we give the mic to female champions who will then tell their stories via beautiful magazine like Dagan magazine, via beautiful TV channels such as TV10, our girls or younger women will not hear the story of these female champions. So if they don't hear the story, they will remain with the social media stories such as, the American successful stories, the European successful. How about our stories? We want our African queens to be role models to the younger generation. So this is one of our key missions. And this is why in doing what Invictae is doing, we hope not only to take our female champions such as Madame Diko here present with us across Africa, but to actually say what you are doing can be duplicated in another country. So it creates synergies across Africa, not only across region, across Africa.
So it is doable. You showcase that thing is doable.
Yes.
So we are also with Christelle Diko. Thank you so much for joining us. Vous êtes la directrice de la publication de Dagan magazine. I want to ask you a question about you being in the media. we've seen many people trying to help, trying to empower women. What do you think media role should be in empowering women?
Je vais répondre à cette question en donnant tout simplement l'exemple de mon magazine. Mon magazine est un magazine féminin qui met à l'honneur une femme togolaise. Je prends une femme togolaise, africaine, et d'ailleurs, comme disait Valérie, c'est un projet qui peut se répéter dans plusieurs pays. Mettre à l'honneur une femme pour son parcours, pour ce qu'elle a fait, dire le parcours qu'elle a, les échecs, les victoires qu'elle a traversées, laisser une trace de son passage pour pouvoir édifier les jeunes générations.
Ouais.
C'est important parce que, comme elle l'a dit tout à l'heure, les femmes font des choses extraordinaires. Et le rôle des médias est de pouvoir justement laisser des traces de ces parcours-là pour qu'on puisse savoir qu'en Afrique, nous avons des valeurs. En Afrique, nous avons des femmes exceptionnelles qui font des choses exceptionnelles. Donc, le rôle de mon média, par exemple, pour parler de Dagon Magazine, c'est ça. C'est donner envie à la jeune génération de copier les valeurs africaines à travers les grandes sœurs africaines. Parce que Dagon, ça veut dire grande sœur. Donc, laisser des traces de ces parcours-là pour édifier les jeunes générations. Je pense que chaque pays, et c'est pour ça que je vais m'accrocher à Valérie, qui fait le tour de l'Afrique, pour pouvoir justement essayer d'implémenter ce projet, de dire à chaque pays, vous avez des femmes extraordinaires. Ces femmes-là méritent d'être connues, qu'elles soient anonymes, ou qu'elles soient déjà connues, elles méritent d'être mises en valeur, des parcours méritent d'être partagés, tout ça pour faire honneur à la femme. Et le rôle de ce média-là est vraiment de l'empowerment woman. C'est ça, c'est vraiment propulser la femme africaine. Et je pense que beaucoup de médias, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, devraient à chaque fois réserver une place à ces femmes africaines qui ont des choses à dire et qui font des choses exceptionnelles.
Seeing even the way you are explaining this thing, you are optimistic about this.
Really?
You believe that it can be achievable. So how do you see African coming here through gender balance?
Gender balance.
L'équité.
Oui.
L'équité entre hommes et femmes.
L'équité entre hommes et femmes. Moi, j'aime pas trop équité entre hommes et femmes. J'aime pas trop. Je trouve que les femmes ont des choses à faire, les hommes ont des choses à faire. Et ensemble, les hommes et les femmes doivent faire des choses. Il ne suffit pas de se battre pour être égal à l'homme. Ce n'est pas ça l'objectif premier. Je pense que l'objectif premier est de s'affirmer en tant que femme, de défendre des valeurs propres, féminines, de défendre des visions, mais pas forcément en rapport avec ce que font les hommes. Il n'y a pas de match entre hommes et femmes. Je pense qu'il y a une sorte de complémentarité. Et pas forcément un combat d'équité, mais plutôt un combat de complémentarité. Que les hommes acceptent que les femmes ont des choses à dire et que les femmes continuent d'accepter que les hommes aussi ont des choses à dire et que de façon complémentaire, nous puissions amorcer une autre vision des valeurs africaines.
Merci beaucoup. I come back to Madame Paris. There has been more initiatives which share the same objective like Invictae. There have been some people talking about empowering women, and yet we see some girls being not empowered. And yet we see fewer women representation in politics, in businesses, and so on and so forth. What does make Invictae so different, and why are you so optimistic about achieving what you started?
That's a very powerful question that I like personally, because I would like to just emphasize on the fact that I'm not a feminist. I don't understand feminism, but I respect feminism. I'm not a feminist. Invictae is not a platform for feminists, not at all. We promote and encourage women. And I would like to add also that Invictae is not here to target young girls. Just to be very specific, we promote business women, business tycoons who are already successful. So Invictae is not about start-uppers, new businesses, no. We are showcasing successful stories across Africa by African female leaders. So it's a bit different from the usual platforms around female empowerment which target young girls. This is different. We are here to say Dangote is very rich. He's the richest man in Africa. He was here in Kigali 2 days ago, sharing his stories. We want more of the Dangote female versions, and we are happy to announce that Invictae focuses on serving as a bridge between global investors and those female tycoons to upscale their business. So this is very unique to Invictae, and this is what makes us stand out. So we are here to hope that we will facilitate the relationship between investors who don't know or understand Africa, dynamism and culture. We understand Africa, we know Africa, I'm African, and I travel intensively across the continent, and we know which country does what investors also are looking for. This is what is very specific to Invictae.
Yeah, that's so powerful. But the challenges women have faced throughout the years are some men who don't get an idea of what women are capable of because of taboo and the many things people say. How do you see the role of men in empowering women and, you know, getting them from coming from one point to another?
Very good question. And I would like to ask the question perhaps differently. How do I see the role of mothers in educating men? This is, I think, for me, is very important, because a man is a result of the education received by a woman. So I think this is really, you know, with a lot of humility, an invitation to us women and mothers to address this issue of educating men in a certain way whereby they respect women and acknowledge that women can be as good and can achieve as great as men without being fighters, without competing. Like Madame Diko said earlier, everybody has their role. That's why we want to be very clear. We celebrate queenship, we celebrate our queens. However, we are not feminists. We are not fighting men. And as you can see, you attended the experience.
Yeah, I was there.
There were as many men as women, because we believe that it's togetherness. You know, without men, you cannot have, the population will stop. Without women, the population will stop. So we are together. The world is made of 50% of men, 50% of women. We cannot deny that. So everybody has a role to play, and we must respect that.
We have to respect that. Let us talk about my country, Rwanda. Christelle, the Rwanda, it has like 50% of women in cabinet. It is close to 65% of women in the parliament. What does that story tell about when we talk about empowering girls?
C'est magnifique. C'est magnifique, c'est impressionnant.
C'est surréel.
C'est surréel, ouais, c'est surréel, on ne peut pas l'imaginer. Je trouve ça extraordinaire, je trouve que c'est une politique incroyable et volontaire de pouvoir donner la place à la femme. Et je pense que toutes ces femmes qui occupent ces postes stratégiques le méritent. Et c'est ça qui fait encore plus plaisir. C'est de dire qu'il y a des femmes qui méritent ces postes-là et qui n'ont aucun complexe devant les hommes. Et ce qui me fait encore plus plaisir, c'est que ça fait rêver la jeune fille. Ça donne envie à la jeune fille d'y croire. Ça donne envie à la jeune fille de se dire qu'elle peut le faire aussi demain et qu'elle a les outils en main pour pouvoir réaliser ce rêve qui est possible. En tout cas, moi, je félicite cette politique qui donne la place à la femme et qui donne envie de rêver.
Merci beaucoup. Speaking of women representation on that large number, Madame Vary, what are many African countries are missing for excluding women in the decision-making platforms?
Very good question, but forgive my answer if I'm wrong. I believe it's a cultural problem. I think it's as a result of how we've been functioning, maybe for years. In many African countries, they still believe that women are not capable of achieving such results or occupying such positions.
Yes.
I'm from Cameroon, I've worked in Gabon, And Gabon used to be a bit like Rwanda. You know, the key positions in government were used to be held by women. So I think it's just a question of advocating more and encouraging other countries to copy the model. And this is one of the reasons why we came to Rwanda, to share the Queendom experience by showcasing what Rwanda, how successful Rwanda is in a model that, you know, highlight women or put women at the forefront, and is very successful. So I think after these 3 days where we had created a, how will I say, a 3 days experience with female leaders, but comprising the government as well. We hope to be able in the next few days during our post-production to highlight the Rwanda as a successful example. And we hope that this will impact on other African countries.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot to, for you to say that. Area we said about objectives. How do you measure the success and impact of your programs?
Extremely useful question. How do we measure? Is very simple. We have a database of what we call Invictae women. We have a database of what we call Invictae investors or Invictae media, and we have an ecosystem of we call them our torch bearer. How we've defined our strategy is that today we have vice president by region, yes. So north, south, east, central, with South Africa as a region and Nigeria as a region, you know, because they are big within their themselves, they are big. So we have our vice presidents who advocate for our mission. What we do is measure the people we have introduced either to an investor or to a female tycoon, and are within our pipeline in talk to either raise funds or work together to create synergies. Again, not all our Invictae women are seeking to raise funds. Even though fundraising is very key for us, not all of them are seeking to raise funds. But most of them will or wish to create regional synergies, meaning if I'm in Rwanda, I would like to work with people in Ethiopia, you know, I would like to expand with or have a partner in Kenya. So that's what we promote. So it's quite easy because we introduce them and we can track progress.
We even talk about the challenges women and young girls face across the continent, but as an Invictae, you are trying to, you know, create something special for those young girls. Creating something special requires so much effort and energy and many collaboration. But you also face challenges, of course. So what are the challenges are you facing, or you did face during the time of coming up with the idea and implementing it?
I would say that the biggest challenge is to sell Africa because of the global narrative around Africa by external actors. Most potential investors are worried. Or is this country safe to invest in? Even though we have those female tycoons in different countries and they are very successful, investors are often, they often go by the country ranking. They will say, oh, this country is red, you know, is ranked by external bureaus as being red to fundraise. That's our biggest challenge, to be able to you know, give a different narrative around different countries and encourage them to come, visit, understand the dynamics, and be encouraged to invest within those women businesses. I think that has been so far the biggest challenge. But thanks media, thanks to TV10 today, thanks to Dagon magazine, you know, they can actually write a different story, a different narrative around these women, their businesses, and their countries.
We are so lucky here today. We are one of the media owner. The problem with Africa is its image. It is being tarnished by the international media.
Perception.
Exactly. They are saying bad things about Africa, and everybody is believing Africa is bad. What are we doing as people in media to make sure the story of Africa is being told by African, and it is being told in African way?
Moi, je dirais déjà qu'il faudrait que les Africains se connaissent entre eux. Déjà pour qu'on ait ensemble la même volonté de vouloir montrer l'Afrique sous un autre angle. C'est quand même important de se connaître avant de se faire connaître. Et c'est là où l'interconnexion que crée Invictae est très importante. Parce que ça change la vision des choses. Moi, je viens du Togo. Je me retrouve aujourd'hui au Rwanda, à Kigali, que je ne connaissais pas. J'en profite pour dire encore que c'est une ville magnifique, propre, belle, verte. J'aime beaucoup. Mais je pense que l'Afrique doit se connecter déjà. L'Afrique doit apprendre à se connaître pour avoir une même vision. Quand moi je parle de la femme, par exemple, et que j'arrive au Rwanda, et que je trouve quelqu'un qui a envie de parler de la femme et que j'apprends à connaître la femme rwandaise. Le jour où je vais parler de la femme togolaise, je sais un peu de quoi je parle, je connais les valeurs qui sont communes aux femmes africaines. Donc je pense que pour créer justement une nouvelle image de l'Afrique, il faut qu'on apprenne à se connaître tous déjà. Et il faut apprendre à garder nos valeurs aussi. Et c'est un peu ce que mon magazine fait, c'est de conserver les valeurs africaines. Il ne faut pas les perdre, comme vous dites, pour ressembler aux médias étrangers. Ce n'est pas le but. On a une culture différente, on a une approche différente. Il faut justement l'imposer aussi à notre manière et profiter justement de ces médias pour se parler entre nous, pour se connaître entre nous, pour connaître les autres cultures aussi, pour pouvoir justement affirmer ce qu'on a réellement entre nous, en nous, Africains. Et je pense que le rôle des médias, c'est ça, c'est de pouvoir imposer l'image de l'Afrique. L'Afrique, c'est l'Afrique. Donc l'Afrique, aujourd'hui, doit se connecter. L'Afrique doit trouver des opportunités pour pouvoir échanger, pour qu'on puisse se connaître, qu'on puisse avoir des visions différentes, mais communes à la fois, pour donner une image véridique et profonde de l'Afrique. Mais c'est ensemble qu'il faut le faire. Et je trouve qu'il faut justement, et ça se fait de plus en plus aujourd'hui, des petits sommets, des rencontres, Invictae par exemple. Moi j'ai rencontré par exemple dans cette expérience un média du Sénégal, par exemple, et du Cameroun. Moi, je suis du Togo, on a forcément quelque chose à se dire. On a forcément quelque chose à faire ensemble, mais encore fallait-il qu'on se croise, fallait-il qu'on se voit, fallait-il qu'on échange. Lui, il est sur les infrastructures et l'économie, moi, je parle de la femme, il y a forcément quelque chose à faire ensemble. Donc, c'est important de pouvoir se connecter entre Africains pour offrir une autre vision du média africain. C'est important.
But connecting for African has been a challenge. There has been some reports saying that Africa, they don't, connect with each other like other countries does. You say about you being in England, when you see about how the business are done between countries, it is so easier than here in Africa. How you see from going from London to Belgium to France, it is so easy, but from Rwanda to Kenya to Togo, it is so much difficult. What do you think, Madame Valérie, should be done? Where do you think African countries should be focusing to make sure that Africa is connected?
Interesting question, and I would like to recall on what was said during the Africa CEO Forum by the various presidents, His Excellency President Paul Kagame, President Ruto, and the President of Mozambique. The key message they conveyed was Africa must work within Africa, with Africans, by Africans. If my statistics are right, I believe that intertrade in Europe is about plus or minus 60%. Intertrade in Asia is around this percentage. Intertrade in America is probably more. In Africa, one thing I know for sure, we are less than 17%.
To be precise, it is 16.
16% intertrade across Africa. 54 countries. What is it that...
Over 1 billion people.
Over, actually, 1.3 billion people. So if we're intentional about it, and really, I'm so optimistic about the Africa trade. I can't wait for it to be fully operational. But I'm very optimistic because I trust that His Excellency Mr. Wankene Mene and his beautiful team are doing a great job to facilitate the infra-trade connection across Africa. Having said that, if you look at Invictae, we created this 3 days experience. We had plus or minus 100 people at each day, at each event. But within an event, you will have plus or minus 20 people from different countries.
Sure.
We had
That is
Ethiopia,
true.
Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Cameroon, Gabon, Eritrea, Morocco, Egypt, Tunisia. This is the Africa we want. We want to connect African ecosystem, African leaders, African women, and more around the same cause. Knowing each other, trusting each other, working together. That is a powerful message we want to send out. Unless we do that, and unless Africa come together and respect itself, we cannot be respected by others. I was reading, I think this morning in Jeune Afrique, after the Africa CEO Forum, and the key message from, again, His Excellency Paul Kagame was, we are putting back on the table l'Union Africaine, which is the United Africa. So I think it's about time that, we hold our head very proudly as queens and kings and say, we can do it together. Everybody is saying that Africa is the new frontier, Africa is the next frontier, with a population of 1.3 billion yet, with most of our population under the age of 25 years old. 70% of my country population is less than 25 years old. Whereas in Europe and the rest of the world, it's the other way around. So we have an untapped reservoir of potential.
And do you believe it can be done?
I don't believe it can be done. It is being done. If you look at countries like Rwanda, it is being done.
It's been done.
Rwanda today, and this is why we're here, is number 2 in ease of doing business in Africa. So out of 54 countries, Rwanda is ranked number 2. It's a strong message. It means it's possible. 20 years ago, no one would have believed. So it's being intentional and not only talking, but actually doing the talk. And this is what Rwanda is doing. And this justifies why Invictae came to Rwanda with all these captains of industry to showcase successful stories.
Do you believe one day Africa will reach there? Do you believe one day Africa will reach there?
I don't believe it will reach there. We're already living it, because as a child, I could not believe that I will see countries like Rwanda, and I'm living in it. I could not believe 15 years ago that a country like Cote d'Ivoire will rise and, offer to the world what they've just did with the Africa Cup of Nations. It was stunning. It was a global level. It was, out of this world. So Africa is really walking the walk now.
When you say a bad thing about a person and you keep repeating it every day, that person believes that thing you are repeating as a fact. There has been many things being taught to women and young girls, and they are born to be like this. They have to, work in kitchen, do all of those kind of things. What is Invictae doing to change that mindset? Because when you talk with many young girls and women in Africa, when they are being held down, they say this is what we deserve. We are meant to be held down. What are you doing as Invictae to change that mindset?
Well, what I would like to say on that note is that, I think there's a Chinese philosopher who says that all battles are not won by a cow, Donc c'est pas tous les matchs qui sont gagnés par un KO. It is step by step. It's work in progress. You know, you cannot win all the battles in one day. Rome was not built in one day. It's work, it's togetherness, it's the Ubuntu. The role of TV10 is not the role of Invictae. The role of Invictae is not the role of Dagan. But with Ubuntu spirit and mindset, we can all achieve that in showcasing female African leaders by hearing their stories, those girls who have been put down in believing that you cannot make it, you cannot. When Dagan magazine highlight a successful woman who tells it as it is, despite going through this, despite being told down, I was able to stand out and be resilient and focus on my objective, and I made it. I told you how Invictae came about. It's after going through personal challenges, and I said, I can't carry on like this. I must give more time for others. I must endeavor to be more impactful, and that's why Invictae came to birth. That's how Invictae came to birth. So I believe that there are more and more women who are understanding that they have a mission to play, or a role to play and a mission by showcasing themselves and their work and telling their stories as it is. They actually impact more. And thanks to social media. Before, we only have foreign media. I don't want to name any, but we relied on foreign press and radio and TV. Today, no. We easily own our narrative, because within a minute, whatever is said in Uganda will reach Zambia. Whatever will be said in Cote d'Ivoire will reach Morocco, right? Africans have the greatest opportunity of their lifetime with today's social media, because they cannot be fooled in believing that they are the worst anymore. When actually Africa, we know that we have the youngest population, we have the fastest growing population, we are the number 2 worldwide after the Amazon forest in terms of carbon credit. So the world should be paying Africa for absorbing credit, because we don't have big industry to pollute the world. So we have everything. We have
solutions.
Solar, we have everything. Africa today is positioned to be a global leader. It's left to us to be very intentional about it and to be confident that if Rwanda has done it, we can do it.
It can be done. Thank you so much, Madame Valerie. Coming back to Madame Christelle, she's saying the way things should be done, but you have to add something about women being told that they are under. They have to, serve as the servants of men. They have to, doing things from the kitchen and so on and so forth. What can you add to what Madame Valerie have just said about, changing the mindset of young girls and women, that they are able, they can do it?
Oui, j'ai l'impression que la jeune fille aujourd'hui a besoin de rêver. La jeune fille a besoin d'avoir des icônes. Et aujourd'hui, nous avons des icônes africaines. On n'a plus besoin de penser aux icônes américaines, françaises, européennes. Non, il y a des femmes rwandaises dont les jeunes filles rwandaises peuvent s'inspirer. Il y a des femmes ivoiriennes dont la jeune fille ivoirienne peut s'inspirer. Donc, nos icônes aujourd'hui sont africaines, doivent être africaines. Il faut que la jeune fille puisse s'identifier à la grande sœur africaine qui a fait des choses et qui lui donne encore envie de rêver, de croire que c'est possible. Donc pour moi, je pense qu'il faut que l'Afrique se connecte. Tout à l'heure, quand on parlait de justement se rencontrer et tout ça, c'est difficile de se rencontrer en Afrique et c'est pas normal. On devrait pouvoir créer des réseaux pour qu'on puisse se déplacer plus facilement, qu'on puisse se déplacer à des coûts beaucoup moins élevés. Je vous donne un exemple. Moi, je viens du Togo, mais pour venir au Rwanda, j'ai dû prendre la voiture de Lomé à Cotonou, 3 heures, et ensuite prendre un avion 6 heures pour arriver au Rwanda. Si vous me demandez de revenir demain, je ne peux pas revenir. Pourtant, Dieu seul sait que j'aimerais revenir au Rwanda parce que j'ai adoré Kigali. Mais c'est ça, il faudrait qu'on puisse se déplacer plus facilement. Il faudrait que le coût des billets d'avion soit beaucoup plus abordable, qu'on puisse faire 2 jours ici, 2 jours là, revenir chez soi, repartir, etc. C'est difficile.
de se déplacer en Afrique. Alors que pour moi, pour avoir une connexion forte, il faut qu'on soit tous ensemble. Il faut que je connaisse le Cameroun. Il faut qu'elle connaisse le Togo. Elle connaît tous les pays. Moi, je l'inviterai un peu, enfin, je la suivrai un peu partout parce que je me dis qu'il faut qu'on connaisse, en fait, l'Afrique pour parler de l'Afrique. Et dans chaque pays, aujourd'hui, la jeune fille doit rêver en regardant une femme de son pays. On n'a plus besoin d'aller chercher des icônes ailleurs. Nous sommes les icônes de l'Afrique. Et nous, leaders, quand nous travaillons, quand nous posons des actes, nous devons regarder derrière et se dire qu'il y a des jeunes filles qui nous regardent. Il y a des jeunes filles qui croient en nous. Il y a des jeunes filles qui, à travers nous, réussiront à faire ce dont elles rêvent. Et ça, c'est important que chaque femme africaine se dise « Je suis une icône ». Moi, j'en fais. Avec mon magazine, je fabrique des icônes. Je fais sortir des femmes exceptionnelles qui n'auraient jamais eu droit à la parole, par exemple. Et je pense qu'en tant que femme africaine, on a beaucoup à se dire. Il faut qu'on puisse se déplacer, qu'on puisse se voir plus souvent et créer encore plus d'événements pour connecter les Africains entre eux.
I love the way you're saying that with much conviction.
Yes, I'm convinced.
It proved the case that this should be done, and it is in process of being done. We are near the end of this beautiful conversation and fruitful discussion we have just had, but like an Invictae, what kind of support or partnership are most crucial for the success of your initiative, and how can others get involved?
Thank you. Before I answer that, I would like to just go back slightly on what Namjiko just said, which I think is interesting. The future is bright. Why is the future bright? Because when I was growing up, I wasn't so proud in wearing African clothes. Today, I pride myself in wearing African fabric. This was made in Côte d'Ivoire. You know, it's handmade by an Ivorian young female artist. You know, I believe that this ownership, you know, Africans, we are owning our narrative. We are proud of who we are now, thanks to movements such as Afrobeat. Afrobeat has gone globally. Before, you couldn't hear Nigerian songs or African songs everywhere. But last year, I believe, when was the World Cup? In Qatar.
It was 2022.
It was 2022?
2022.
And
December of 2022.
during the most matches, it was only Nigerian songs and mainly Afrobeat. I remember when they played "Baby, Calm Down, Calm Down." My body, you remember? Everybody. I can never forget that sight, that sound. It was amazing to believe that you are in Arab world, in Qatar, in the middle of football, by the world, for the world, and Africans are dominating. It's a powerful message. So we are already doing it. Now, to go back to your question of how can we be helped? We came to Rwanda for 3 days experience, and I'm delighted to tell you that we received all the help we needed from the government, from institutions, from private, from, you know, ladies, gentlemen. It's amazing. So I believe that, you know, and this is only my first real time in Rwanda. I was here 5 months ago for the Qatar Island Forum, and I was here for 3 days from the airport convention center back because I had, you know, a busy schedule. But this is my real first time in Kigali, and already we received this, you know, warm welcome and all the support. TV10 has been with us for the last 4 days, and really, and I believe it's intentional because this is not about Valerie. It's about, Invictae is about Africa. And that's why everybody is buying into it without, you know, with a lot of ease. How can we get further help? This costs a lot of investment, you know, traveling and going across Africa to advocate for who we are and how we should dream big. We bring the investors, but we need platforms to receive us. My invitation to different countries and stakeholders would be perhaps more sponsorship, you know, more, but I'm delighted to say that, you know, during this day, we've received a lot of commitment, a lot of commitment.
Can we conclude by saying the future plans you have expanding this initiative to reach young girls and women who need your help?
Yes, yes. Rwanda was the launch of our collection, and our collection is actually the unveiling of the services that will be
It
offered.
is going down in history that this collection was launched here in Rwanda.
Yes, yes. You should clap for that. We could have chosen any country. We chose Rwanda to launch our collection.
Any reason why specific you decided to choose Rwanda?
Because Rwanda is a successful story to showcase to the world.
Okay.
And Rwanda is a country for women, or promoting women. You know, so what we call intentional leadership.
Yes.
And again, our sincere congratulations and thanks to His Excellency President Paul Kagame for the vision, for the leadership. He's a great man. I can't wait to meet him. And whenever I come back to Rwanda, next time, there's no way. If I don't get an audience, I'll go and knock on the door. I'll say, President Kagame, let me just shake hand and say thank you for being the leader that Africa needs. And I hope that, you know, this message echo and other African leaders copy a little bit on this powerful leadership that His Excellency has put in place. Now, to go back to your question, what's next for Invictae? We're going to Namibia. And I was sharing with the ladies yesterday during our farewell dinner that we are going to Namibia simply because recently in Davos, before he passed away, President Ginkos of Namibia, may his soul rest in peace. We met with him and he said, when Namibia went through genocide, Cameroon received us. I introduced myself and I said I was from Cameroon and I shared what Invictae was about. He said, come to Namibia, you must come. So in his honor, even though he's not with us anymore physically, we believe that he's with us in spirit. We would like to honor his memory, and the next trip or next Invictae experience will be in Namibia.
Thank you so much, Madam. In concluding, Christelle, what can you say to you've been throughout the interview trying to, you know, inspire young girls and women, but what can you say that should be like the message of the message of Dagan to the young girls, that in whatever they are doing, it is doable, in whatever they dream, they can achieve it?
Alors déjà, je voudrais remercier Valérie, parce que c'est grâce à Valérie que je suis là aujourd'hui. Je voudrais dire que la jeune fille a toujours besoin de s'identifier à quelque chose. C'était quoi la question?
What is Dagan doing to...
Non, si tu me répètes en anglais,
qu'est-ce que Dagan fait pour s'assurer que ces filles-là ont les bons rôles modèles dont elles ont besoin?
D'accord, ok. Alors déjà, je voudrais remercier Valérie parce que c'est quand même grâce à elle que je suis là aujourd'hui. Je suis venue me connecter à d'autres femmes africaines grâce à Invictae et je trouve que c'est une très belle expérience. Le rôle de mon magazine, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, c'est de fabriquer des icônes. C'est de rechercher des femmes un peu partout en Afrique qui ont fait des choses extraordinaires, qui ont des conseils encore à donner à la jeune génération, qui ont des success stories à raconter. Et je suis là pour ça. Je suis là pour faire le tour de l'Afrique et pour chercher ces femmes africaines qui ont des choses exceptionnelles, parce que la jeune fille a besoin de rêver. La jeune fille a besoin de croire et la jeune fille a besoin de grandir pour être demain à notre place, pour que Invictae continue d'avoir des femmes leaders. Comme elle a dit tout à l'heure, ce n'est pas des start-up qu'on cherche, c'est qu'elle recherche. Elle cherche des femmes accomplies, des femmes leaders accomplies. Alors nous devons être des exemples. Avec ce magazine, justement, je crée des modèles qui pourront inspirer la jeune fille et avoir demain, justement, pas mal de leaders féminines africaines qui se connecteront entre elles.
Christelle Dicko, directrice de la publication, d'Agra Magazine. Je vous remercie beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Merci à vous.
Merci beaucoup.
You spoke French.
I tried.
So you speak, you've been pretending.
Et je vous remercie,
We just spoke
je vous remercie vraiment de m'avoir donné l'opportunité de parler en français, parce que c'était un peu difficile de le dire en anglais, mais j'ai beaucoup aimé votre interview, j'ai compris ce que vous avez dit et je vous félicite beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Varine, je vous remercie beaucoup. I thank you so much for working with TV10. It was amazing an experience. It was an honor and a privilege to work with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so
I
much.
believe next time when you come back, we work together again.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. It was an honor.